Sims Walker, knocked down.
Oh my God! Davis is going running all the way back. Auburn's going to win the football game.
In trouble. He's going to be sacked. No, gets away. He runs, gets away again, goes to the 40, gets away again.
Jackson takes it himself. Look at him dart back and forth. Oh! He broke his ankles.
I have never seen this before in my life.
Still looking. Firing. Near corner. It's caught!
Denver! Unbelievable!
And welcome to the fourth down fiasco.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Fourth Down Fiasco, your go-to podcast for all things football, brought to you by BetStamp. Look, we want to go ahead and dive in. We've got some crazy shit to talk about, and also this episode is a day late. So let's just get into what it is that y'all came here for, which is the European League of Football, experiencing quite a bit of drama. We've got the EFA, which is, the European Football Alliance, and it's basically the top 12 teams out of 16 in the ELF who are wanting salary transparency, for better resources from the league, basically just asking the league to open up their book a little bit and allowing everybody to look in on it. Releasing the Epstein files of the ELF. No Diddy. But yeah, so crazy stuff going on with that. The only teams that aren't a part of it is the Fairbairn Throners, the Cologne Centurions, the Helvetic Mercenaries, who also just lost a coach too, and who's the last? Oh, and the Berlin Thunder. So, Tanner, how are we feeling, especially now that they've officially gotten 12, adding the Stuttgart Surge as that 12th team in the EFA?
Yeah, I wonder what those four teams have in common. I wonder why they didn't get offers. I wonder why they aren't going to be joining alongside this. I think it's great. To be honest, like you said, there are a lot of issues with the ELF. For how much we cover it, how much positivity we give to it, it's still a startup sports league ran by people that don't have very much experience in the realm of sports. So What has occurred is an inferior product in a lot of ways compared to like a major professional sports league. And as much shit like we can talk about the NFL and the NBA and the NHL and the MLB and the Premier League and every single sports organization on the planet, because trust me, they have a plethora of things that are wrong with them as well, right? They at least function on a stable level. They pay their players. They have good player rights. They do things that you would expect from a professional sports organization, right? Now, maybe some of the teams in those leagues don't do those things, but they're usually faced with consequences when they don't do them, right?
Right.
And the ELF hasn't had enough of a ground to stand on to really consequence when teams are, for example, not paying their players, not, accounting for travel costs, not accounting for, any sort of accommodations in terms of housing or shelter or anything like that for their players. And the reality of it is there's just not a lot of money to go around. So it's really hard to get those things figured out. So I think bringing in the EPA and kind of sitting there giving the ELF leadership an ultimatum of like, hey, like put up or shut up. Like these are the things we need done. I think it's what the league needs, Mm-hmm. All right, I'm going to have you rant for a second. We get on a phone call.
God, that is a old ringtone you got there. But yeah, no, Tanner's putting it perfectly right. Something else that's, frustrating when it comes to I feel like it's no surprise that there's been some shady stuff money-wise going on in the ELF. We've had plenty of people that we've interviewed that are not only reluctant to talk about their salaries, but, off camera are also like, hey, I don't even know where my money is coming from kind of thing. And there's just been a real lack of transparency. I won't name any of those players, but even the players who are willing to talk to us on camera about salary stuff, it is very hush-hush. I remember an interview with Carlton Aiken Jr., which you can go catch on YouTube. It was a YouTube exclusive, not to plug or anything. But, he had talked about that was something that he couldn't talk about, which, again, this is a Helvetic franchise we're talking about here. The same Helvetic franchise who because the team that they're fielding is so bad, instead of having a makeup game with the Nordic Storm, they just said, hey, the Storm is going to win this one 35-0. And so I think even aside from the shady money stuff, I think that it's time to just boot the worst 4 teams out of this league. Prague made themselves competitive this year, and so they're not getting the boot. So go them. But the bottom 4 teams are just so inferior to the rest of the product that is on the field with the ELF. I mean, a lot of y'all listening probably, because you're crackheads for this league, also probably do the fantasy stuff too. And it's a very easy rule of thumb of whoever is playing one of those bottom 4 teams, you want their quarterback, their receiver, their running back, etc. And so, yeah, even aside from all of the shady money stuff that we've known for a couple of years, at least since we've been covering that has been going on with some of these teams, and not only not paying players, but not having transparency, and also where are they getting certain dollar amounts with different franchises and stuff. It just is also making sure that we have a better product on the field. Because, the ones that have been struggling the most, and, whether I keep picking on Helvetic, but, they lost Coach Bryson recently, and I'm just like, they're just not doing things great over there. How many times did they switch quarterbacks? They should have just kept Carlton from last year. Yeah. But I'm picking on them to say that, them and the other 3 teams that are at the bottom, it's just not a good product whenever they're on the field. They need to be in a less competitive league. The 12 teams that are sticking around, if your worst team that you're putting on the field is this year's version of the Frankfurt Galaxy, who has upset some teams this year and some teams that are fighting for playoff positions right now, then that's great. That's where you want to be as a league. Yes, your bottom teams are still going to have losing records. Somebody has to have a losing record. But when your bottom team has a losing record of, 3 wins, 2 wins, 4 wins, something like that, versus the bottom 3 teams in the ELF currently are all 0-9 right now.
It's not only even that they're 0-9, they're convincingly 0-9. I don't think they've ever been close to getting a win, right?
Yeah, Cologne getting obliterated by Stuttgart the way that they did. What was that, 92-6 or whatever it was? It was something ridiculous. It was an 80
It wasn't
point.
that bad. I think it was
I'm gonna have to check myself.
I'm looking right now. As I'm yapping, I'll try to find it. But it was, it was pretty fucking bad. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
And that's the issue though, is okay, and the thing is for these bottom 4 teams, you brought up a great point with Prague. Prague easily would have been one of these teams axed if they didn't have the turnaround that they did last year, right?
Correct.
Prague would have gotten axed over Berlin, but Prague has actually put in the effort to get better. And the thing is like you said, especially with Cologne, Cologne has no excuse for being this terrible. We give a lot of credence to Vedevar because of what they have to deal with their import situation and the teams that they have.
It was 88-7, by the way. I found it.
What was it? How much was it?
88-7.
Holy fuck, they did almost.
So yeah, I wasn't off by much.
I thought it was 78 for some reason. That's
no.
nuts.
Yeah, I knew that they won
that?
the game by over 80 points. So that's nuts. But yeah, to your point with Prague bettering themselves. Sorry, I was giving the floor back to you, but yeah, no, they've made the right changes that they need to in order to, I think we all got a little too hyped whenever they were 4-2, and we were like, oh my gosh, and I agree. I also got in too much into the hype, especially if you look at my MVP article. I had put 2 Prague guys in there, but they're still winning games. They have won games, and they have won games against competent competition, and that's good for them. And they are on the right track, and they are trending up.
No, I completely agree. And that's the thing is, like you said, when we're looking at this new iteration of the league, and if this all goes through and this is the way it goes down, right? Because nothing's set in stone yet at this point, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if this is the direction they go, the worst team being Hamburg, Hamburg's got a plethora of problems. They got stuff they got to work through. But I say there's even a gap between the amount of organizational incompetence between Hamburg and Berlin, right? maybe, Berlin probably has the better record than Hamburg right now. I think they have 3 wins, whereas Hamburg only has 2, right? But regardless, I still trust Hamburg as an organization a little bit more than Berlin because Berlin has never really had highs like Hamburg has had. And it's one of those things where if Hamburg continues to struggle, then I don't doubt that the new and again, if you only really have one joke of a franchise compared to 4, then you get rid of Hamburg and you replace them with an Italian team or a a Finnish team or a British team, Danish team, whatever they got to do, right?
There are a couple of expandable markets that you can go into, if you need to, drop one more German team, potentially, or there's also additional markets for, there's Danny, additional markets for people to be able to expand into as well. Let's get Danny on here. Daniel!
I have a break, so I'll say hi.
Hey, how's it going, bud?
Oh, it's great. I thought I'd rep the Storm today. What else to do during a training activity?
Yeah, speaking of which, you went to some games recently. I don't know if I guess the pod you recorded never went up. So yeah, you want to tell some people about actually getting to experience the games in person real quick while we have you on?
Yeah, well, I don't know what you said about why the pod is late. I tried to record last night. Our firewall for our work computers decided to not let it record after a 30-minute recording session. It was already late. So that's why we're delayed today. Sorry about that. But no, I've been absent from podcasts. We've still been posting a little bit, but I was at the Vienna-Prague game, and that was wild. They got kicked out of their main arena from a soccer game, so they had to go to a backup stadium. And I thought there were quite a few fans there, and there were probably, 3,500 people there? And everyone I talked to said they expected a lot more. And I was like, that's crazy. So that's great for Vienna. Mm-hmm. Also, if you follow us on Instagram, you'd have seen that I helped carry the Austrian flag onto the field before the game. Don't know how I got pulled into that, but it happened.
Showing that Austrian pride, brother.
They played the U.S. national anthem too, so.
Did they really? That's funny.
Yeah, because it was July 5th, so they played the U.S. national anthem, the Czech national anthem, and the Austrian national anthem.
Hell yeah.
But so Vienna game was a blast. Met a lot of fun people, talked to a lot of people, and that was fun. Then I went golfing with Ben Holmes after the day after the game. So that was also great.
Hell yeah, you did. Friend of the pod, Ben Holmes.
Friend of the pod. He's also, I didn't know this, he's a visor guy when he golfs. He rocked a visor the whole time. Yeah. He low flow, right?
Wears a hat all the time, so it doesn't surprise me.
But then after the Vienna-Prague game, I made my way over to Copenhagen for the Fire Copenhagen game. That was hosted on Fubo TV by Amazon. I don't know, some weird thing. But that game was wild. Jadrian Clark, I don't know what he was thinking on that first pick 6. Why he wouldn't have just taken the sack, who knows? You guys, that was a couple weeks ago. It's past. Yeah. It's over. But that game had my heart racing. Because it was 24-12, halfway through the fourth quarter or something like that. The crowd was electric. My heart was racing. It was exciting. The atmosphere at these games, at least the 2 I went to, were great. So if you can go to one, go to one.
Love it. Yeah, I think that's a good calling card for the league. If you're able to go, then go. I'm trying to remember who it was. One of the teams just posted about they're giving out it's $3 tickets for students of the university that's nearby.
Frankfurt, maybe.
Was it Frankfurt?
Maybe.
I think it was one of the German teams. I think you're right.
It might have been Frankfurt.
But it was dope. It was cool.
$3 to get some beer? Heck yeah.
Oh no, it was Raiders Tyrol. Now that I remember, it was Raiders Tyrol. It was. Mm-hmm.
I think Frankfurt's doing something similar with students as well. Then maybe not $3, but something cheaper.
Because it was for the University of Innsbruck, whatever the extra letter is for. But if you are listening, definitely go check out a game. Games are cool. I want to go to one so bad, and I would have gone this year if the championship game would have been on the weekend it was supposed to be on.
I think it would have been Labor Day weekend for us, so it would have helped with work. But no, they had to change it.
Yeah. So it is what it is. But Yeah, Daniel, we were ranting about the EFA and how we think it's a good thing because the bottom 4 teams basically aren't a part of it, and it'll also have some salary transparency and some other things.
So yeah, I tried to talk about that yesterday as well with the EFA. So yeah, we're up to 9 teams now with the Storm coming in a couple days ago. I think if they work with the ELF to be more transparent and do all this stuff to distribute the revenue shares that they should have been doing since 2022 or whatever it is, because we know some teams haven't been paid, I think it'd be really good for the league. But it would be very hard to restart a new league with all the sponsors already tied to the ELF.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because like you have the DAZN stuff, you have the Fubo stuff now, like you have Ghazi, you have what's the Panthers' big sponsor? What's their snack brand?
Oh, I'm spacing on it.
It's some weird Polish name, I don't know. But you have that big sponsor, you have KFC. Like, you could restart a league, but you have the momentum of the ELF. So try to work together before you just leave. That's what I would say.
For sure. And I think actually it's up to 11 teams now. Because I know that
more signed today?
I know that the Surge did. They haven't. Yeah, today.
Oh.
And I think someone else did because I saw a graphic and I'm almost positive it was 11 teams.
Because it was 8 before the Storm. So if 2 more teams signed, I mean, I haven't been on my phone a lot today. So I didn't see the Storm one. And maybe it would make sense. Who would Madrid's on there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wish I had the graphic still.
Wasn't on there. Maybe. I don't know. But still, if they're up to 11, that's nice.
I believe so. If I can find it, I cannot. But yeah, no, we were talking about how it should hopefully make the league better, more competitive, all those fun things. I'm going to pivot us, though, because we've been talking about the EFA for long enough, into this past week's slate of games. So, gentlemen, what was it, week 10?
Week 10, yeah.
Week 10, baby, in the books. Just real quick, what stood out to y'all?
Mr. Record Breaker with One-Way J, 519 yards, breaking his own previous record of 512, 514?
512, yeah. Had 6 touchdowns, no interceptions.
7 touchdowns.
7 touchdowns. You're so right. Now, I will say it is concerning that Berlin still put up 35 points against Nick's defense.
The Storm had 3 or 4 main guys out.
Okay.
Parkinson, I think, was out. Myron is still out. They brought Duck in, who got hurt but came back because Xavier Edwards tore his Achilles, which was never announced. Because that happened like 3 weeks ago. So yeah, the Storm defense is banged up. Hopefully they're healthy by the playoffs, because if they're not, then it's Jadrian's going to have to be Jadrian and throw for 7 touchdowns again.
Yeah. Yeah, because if he hadn't have gone crazy like that, I mean, I know that they won by, 2.5 scores?
But it was
scores,
40-35 halfway through the fourth quarter.
Yeah, it was a much closer game than what that score is saying. So, I hope that guys make speedy recoveries because, Nordic's offense can put up hella points, but we've learned that whenever the playoffs hit, the teams that have good defenses do significantly better,
Oh, 100%.
So definitely got to shore that up. The one game that shocked me was the Prague Lions, Fairvar, and Throners, 10-6. Prague ekes out a very close win where they kind of looked like the Prague of old, a little disjointed, just couldn't get anything going. I believe Willie Patterson was the only one who scored.
One busted coverage play blew the whole game open in the end in the fourth quarter. But
yeah.
I will have to sign off. So I'll let you guys back at it.
Sounds good. Thanks, Danny.
Thanks, Daniel.
Bye.
Yeah, that one was concerning. And then, Tanner, I know that you and I both felt some type of way about this game, but Raiders Tyrol, Munich Ravens, I'm glad that I stuck with my Munich pick because I was really sitting there like I should go Raiders Tyrol.
Oh, dude, the whole week. Yeah, the whole week I was sitting there and I was like, Danny hasn't put out the graphic yet. I should have him switch it because I don't know. The Raiders Tyrol have done such a good job this season of staying into these games, but I feel like this is the third or fourth game that are probably of their 4 losses. I would say 3 of their losses are a loss very similar to this, where they're in the game, they look poised to win, and they just can't put it together in the fourth. And it's unfortunate, and I think it's what's going to cost them the playoffs, unfortunately, because I think this is realistically a playoff team, the Raiders to roll. Like, they have such a positive rushing offense. They've been able to run down teams' throats. They've been smart on offense. They have such a dominant defense. Like, this is a team that really could make noise if they put it all together, but you just haven't seen it all click.
Yeah, for sure. And I think part of their issue, was in the beginning, just having injury issues at quarterback. I mean, they played basically half of this season, running Army's offense with three running backs and a wildcat, But yeah, no, I'm looking at their schedule now. Yeah. And they lost to the Vienna Vikings 44-38 in a heartbreaker, and then lost to Munich Ravens, this past week 31-24. They did eke one out against the Madrid Bravos 35-34. So they're in some very close games. They just have a brutal schedule is their problem.
Their first matchup against Munich was also very close. Like, I remember the scoreboard, I think Munich scored some garbage time, but I think it was like the Raiders to roll going into the fourth quarter, were leading and had control most of the time, and then it came down to like the final 2 drives, and they just blew it against Munich.
Yeah, they were tied, it looks like. Or actually, no, yeah, they were up by a point, and then the fourth quarter, Munich scored twice on back-to-back drives and put it away.
Yeah, I think it was – I'm trying to remember exactly how it went, because, I mean, that was week 1. But, it was – they had like – They were leading in the fourth. Munich goes and scores. They have an opportunity to go back, take the lead back from them, and then they have a turnover on downs, and then all of a sudden, game over. Like,
yeah, no, it's unfortunate, and they're going to really be kicking themselves if they're like one game out of the playoffs. Because I mean, that's what it's boiling down to. Is they're probably going to miss the playoffs by 1, maybe 2 games, and you're going to reflect on it and say, that was very easily the Vienna game, the second matchup against Munich, or whatever else down the stretch, because they still have to play Madrid again, they have to play Raiders or the Rhine Fire again. So like they still have a brutal stretch.
Yeah.
And then they finish off their schedule with Cologne.
Yeah, which good for them, But that's one of those things where I look at it and I it sucks to say, but I do think Tyrol's going to end the year off on a losing record. Like, I think they're going to go. They'll get the game against Cologne, and they're going to lose their last. I don't think they beat Madrid, and I don't think they beat Rhine. Which is a shame, because this is a team. They're going to be one of the first teams out, and it's going to be like, damn, they were so close, but they just dropped too many pivotal games, and they couldn't put it together when they needed to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. Well. Any other games that really stood out to you? I think we kind of called out the 3 really good close games.
The only thing I want to shout out is just the Stuttgart defense for just absolutely dismantling Paris.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably one of the more dominant defensive performances we've had this year, which is awesome. Actually, both of the matchups that Paris and Stuttgart have had with each other, just insane defensive performances by both teams. Well, less so for Paris in this game, but when Paris beat Stuttgart, I mean, they were able to shut them out, and it was insane. Yeah. And in this game, Stuttgart flips the script on them, and they just rack up so much on this Paris offense. And it went back to what we were saying at the beginning of the year, where we were skeptical of Paris's offense, and we've been skeptical of them all year. And they started to put it together really well against, maybe some teams that aren't like the Stuttgart Surge, right?
Right.
And we're starting to see those ugly habits rear their head again. And, this was a must-win game for Paris, because if they would have won this, there was a chance they could have won their division. But
yeah, and they would also have the tiebreaker over Stuttgart if there was ever any playoff discrepancy. Whereas now they lose the tiebreaker because, they're 1-1, and Stuttgart has the point differential win.
Yep.
So yeah, no, that sucks for them. And something that I will say that I have noticed specifically from my Surge is that they are finally starting to open up that playbook on offense a little bit, at least the first half. Now, they did revert back to their old selves where, again, it doesn't seem like they're trying to give away a whole lot of secrets as to what this offense is really capable of. Because second half hit, and dude, it was just a lot of dink and dunk. And, whereas first half, dude, we saw Mike Harley Jr. throwing a touchdown, little flea flicker action and all that stuff. And so, I'm a little higher on Stuttgart now than I was a couple weeks back after that real ugly loss against, who was that? I think it was week 8. No. 7 maybe?
The Munich.
Yeah,
they had the last
Munich game. Yeah, the 36-33. Yeah. I just I think that this Stuttgart team is going to be a lot better than at least what I thought a couple weeks back. My beginning of season predictions was they were going to win it all. So I'm back on that train now. But they've got to start putting these teams away, because there was a moment where, because they had taken their foot off the gas, that I thought the Paris might possibly mount a crazy comeback like they almost did against Frankfurt a couple weeks back. And thankfully that didn't happen. But well, cool. You want to talk about Fiasco Awards next?
Yeah, let's do it. Let me pull them up so I know who we picked again. I remember mostly, but there it is. I found it.
Cool. So I'm thinking that we go with the obvious one here, the big dog. We were going to rage bait people. We had a long chat, the three of us did, behind closed doors about this.
Danny steered the ship in the right direction.
Yeah.
You and I were very much down to rage bait. But
yeah. So you could thank Danny for us doing this award properly, because Tanner and I were about to just really piss y'all off. But the clear and obvious choice for the Fiasco player of the big dog, if you will, is one Jadrian Clark, 519 passing yards, 7 touchdowns. Do we need to say anything other than that?
No, not really.
Okay. So that then takes us to Unsung, which this one, at least we were able to have a little bit more fun with and actually talk through it. But we went with Bijan Harris. He had 2 punt return touchdowns. He also had 2 interceptions and 2 tackles for loss. I mean, so, pretty much every impact that he could make whenever he was on the field, he did. And, he was just out there. It seemed like if he was near a ball, it was his, and he was going to go do something with it. So
this is where we were trying to justify our rage bait, right? This is where we're like, let's give Bijan Harris big dog and let's snub Jadrian entirely, just because it would be funny more than anything else. Really, there's not a lot of logic behind it. And I was down to do it because both of Bijan Harris's returns were exceptionally impressive. They were punts that were rolling balls, so he had to pick them up and move immediately. It wasn't just like he was able to catch, kind of look at the field and find a path. He had to pick up the ball immediately, get running, and he went from one side of the field to the other side of the field on both returns, which is exceptionally hard to do on punt returns. If you ever look at, take for example, if you ever look at exceptional special teams returners in the NFL, you will see a very consistent pattern for how they get the return touchdown. And it's typically they hug one side of they usually clear in the middle, they run to one side and they stay on that side and they get the blocks. Very seldom do you see a player pick up the ball on one side of the field and move it to the other side of the field and get it to the end zone. So the fact that Bijan was able to get 2 of those in one game is honestly insane. It's very low probability for that to pan out twice. And that's not necessarily to say, oh, well, it was Cologne, so Cologne probably just has terrible special teams packages and they weren't able to block it. Part of that might be there, but also he was breaking tackles left and right. And despite, what you can say, it's like, well, it's Cologne, so they're not going to tackle well. They're not going to be, they're not playing well. The thing is if you, you can use that argument if you break 1 or 2 tackles and you see something embarrassing. But when you're breaking 4 or 5 tackles on a return, you're running through people. You're genuinely using your momentum against them, even if they're having sloppy tackling form. Even if a team has sloppy tackling, they're still going to bring you down if there's 3 or 4 players there, right? Like somebody's going to bring you down. But the fact that they weren't able to showed just how elusive Bijan was being on those returns.
Yeah.
And looking at that, that's when I was like, okay, we can give this to him. Like we can make it work. We can justify it. Unfortunately, his 2 interceptions, the Pullman may or may not have
thrown it right in his bread basket.
Right to him, just directly at him. So that was a little hard to justify. So that's why we decided not to go through with it because, if that wasn't the case, it would have been good. But it was just one of those situations where, the quarterback just didn't have the arm strength to make the throw. So it just landed right into Bijan's hands. And you didn't have to worry about.
I think it's also another thing of like, had Jadrian not had the performance that he had this week, I think Bijan still, even with the 2 cheapo interceptions that he, was basically like hand wrapped and delivered to him, the stats still stand if he had 2 punt return touchdowns that were wild, and then he had 2 tackles for loss, 2 interceptions. Like, it is a crazy stat line, regardless of
impressive,
regardless of variables in all of this. But when someone goes off for 519 yards and 7 touchdowns, no interceptions, and like single-handedly like wills his team to win, breaks the
record,
game record, which was his record before. That's big dog shit. So, but
and if there were 2 impressive interceptions, we would have done it. I'm just saying, if they were if
they were like one-handed snags or something,
or he mossed people, like we would be sitting and be like, all right.
We'd have been like, sorry, Jadrian, because now he has 3 of these awards. So
and also I misspoke earlier. I said Pullman. Pullman we're going to get to in a second. It was Luker who was throwing for Cologne.
You spoiled it. The Mr. Fiasco goes to Pullman.
Poor guy.
Yeah, just a rough day at the office for him. I know that it's his first week, but my boy Brett, no touchdowns, 44% completion, averaged 3.6 yards per completion, had 2 picks, had some really costly turnovers. I mean, because again, Farivar was in this game until they weren't. So, like, truly, if Pullman just has an average game, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, they win that game. If it's 1 touchdown, 1 interception, like, everybody's cheering and clapping and going, "Oh my God!" But sorry, Brett Pullman, but you are the Mr. Fiasco. But that doesn't mean you can't redeem yourself, because Sir DeMarcus Irons Jr. has also redeemed himself, going from being Mr. Fiasco to then Big Dog. So it's out there for you.
It's definitely possible, and it is going to be extremely hard to have a 3.62 average on your completions again. Like, I don't know who Verivar plays next, but I would be shocked if.
No, their next opponent's Vienna.
Well, hopefully you'll do better.
Oh, pain.
Let's at least try to get it to 5. Which would still be terrible. Don't get me wrong, but
hey, you know what? We can make some calls. We'll call Kiki up, be like, "Hey, girl, can your boys please let them get a couple tuds?" Maybe we can also put some money on it through, we can go through BetStamp and do that. Signupexpert.com/fiasco. We can make the call, and Vienna can let them score a couple tuds, get some confidence back for that offense. I feel good about that one. Well, then do we want to go ahead and cast our, not votes, I guess, but talk about who we think is going to win for Week 11 before the league-wide bye week? But Week 11, we have Vienna at Farivar. I think we're in the same camp on this one.
Really?
Yeah. We're just going to get through this next one real quick at the same pace. Cologne Centurions visiting the Paris Musketeers. Anyways, after that, we have Raiders Tirol visiting the Madrid Bravos, your Madrid Bravos. How are we feeling about that one?
I'm very relieved that it's being played in Madrid. because it was played in Tyrol last time and they only lost by 1 point, and they lost. And I'm going to say they lost due to Madrid's own incompetence. I'll just say that right now. Madrid should have won that game with the way that ended. So I'm expecting a bounce back. I'm expecting them to get revenge here. Well, not a bounce back from last week, because last week they absolutely dismantled Helvetic, but a bounce back from losing to Tyrol prior. So I think this is going to be a much better performance for Madrid. I imagine that they'll have another offensive shootout like they did last time. And I think really what's going to make the difference is this time around, as long as they manage the clock better, as long as they can, not make the decisions to shoot themselves in the foot and get them in a really bad spot, I can't imagine them losing to Tyrol. It's so hard to keep up with Madrid's offense. And if you're going to get into a shootout, give me Madrid every time.
Fair. I am seeing who I picked. Okay. I thought I picked that when I said it to Danny. I'm going to oppose you, and I'm going to say Raiders Tyrol on this one. They've got 3 great running backs and an athletic quarterback. And I feel like even in the last game, because they had some injuries going into that game, I just know that Madrid's run defense is putrid. It is a crime against humanity. And so I'm going to go with Raiders Tyrol on this one. I think that they're going to take the series from y'all. Y'all going to be tied at 6-4. It's going to be crazy.
Like I said, I don't hate the shout. I don't think it's a bad bet. Like, I would not be surprised if Tyrol was able to run down Madrid's throat and keep control of the clock, and there's just nothing they could do. Yeah. But I'm hoping not.
I just see it like when it comes to running, it's easier to have a successful run play than to have a successful pass play, because it takes, whereas you're handing off the ball, you're throwing it, a whole lot of things can happen while that ball is in the air, versus once that running back has the rock, as long as they have it tucked away and they don't fumble it, you're good. And so I can just see it being down the stretch a untimely drop, a pass that just kind of sails a little too far away, because I really do think it'll come down to who does not score every time.
Yep. No, I completely agree. And to even put the point to how reliable I think the Tyrol run game is, I'm starting Hauswanter in fantasy this week. So
I definitely did snag Hauswanter as well. So
yeah.
Perfect. All right. Then we have Nordic Frankfurt. I think this is going to be a pretty good Nordic game, right?
I think so too. I think this is going to be strangely competitive because
Wang.
Yeah, right. I don't know. Nordic has had some struggles in the games. I don't think Frankfurt has a chance to win this one at all. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not going that far, but I think Frankfurt's going to keep it close, and people are going to be a little shocked because, like I said, I don't think Nordic's ending loss, like with no losses. I think Nordic's going to drop one somewhere. And when I mean somewhere, it's going to have to be their last week against Ryan, because the next 2 opponents are not definitely losing to. So this being one of them. But I think we're going to see Nordic run out a little bit of steam in this one, and make it at least a close game, like at least within 10 points. I think is what I'll see from the Frankfurt offense here.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'm going to go with the Storm on this one as well. I just don't think that it's quite the time for Nordic to lose their one game, because I'm with you. I think that they will drop a game. I don't think that we'll have any undefeated teams by the end of the season, which is awesome. I hope that it's like that.
I hope so. Yep.
But I am excited to see what Wang does against a defense like the Storm, because, I mean, he can make things happen. He's, I did catch a little bit of him last week, and that brother is so entertaining because, like, he's shifty, he's quick, he's kind of undersized, but he just makes it work. He just kind of has that, you can't quantify bullshitting, but he's very good at bullshitting. And I do always appreciate that in a quarterback, because I think you need a quarterback who can bullshit in order to win.
Absolutely.
I just don't think it'll be next week.
Would be cool, though.
Would be cool. I'd be here for it. Next is the Wrocław Panthers taking on the Munich Ravens. Now, I think we have different ones for this one.
Really, we do. Huh. I feel pretty confident in Munich taking this game. As much as Wrocław has had a relatively impressive season, I mean, they're at 5-4. They're still in the playoff hunt. As crazy as that is to say, I don't think any of us were expecting that at this point of the season.
DeMarcus Jr., baby.
I know, it's our boy. Munich is just a very strong roster, in my opinion. Like, I would be very hard pressed to see Munich kind of struggle down the stretch here. They've played relatively consistent through all their games. It was very close against Raiders Tyrol. They were looking down and out at the beginning. But I think Tyrol had a lot of benefit of being able to kind of control the game plan there and being able to control the clock and running all over Munich and keeping that game in their court and keeping it on their terms, especially with it also being at home. They're going to Munich. I just have a hard time seeing Wrocław being able to have a similar course of action and being able to succeed in the same way that Tyrol did against them. Now, don't get me wrong. I think this is a team that does have a potent rushing offense, and that if they can get it to work, it would be very impressive. I just trust that Munich defense to be able to hold it together a little bit better against Wrocław than they did against Tyrol.
Fair. No, I get you. I'm going to go with Wrocław. Simply just, it's one of those just feelings. I really can't justify it other than we have seen some close games from Munich as of recent. It's just time for them to lose one of them. They beat Raiders Tyrol last week by 1 TUD. Very close game in a game that, they didn't play all that great in and still got a win. They beat the Helvetic Mercenaries by 2 touchdowns, but also was another game that they just didn't play their best and still got a win. And it's kind of been a habit over the past few weeks, especially their defense. Their defense has not been playing as well. Like and I get it's Madrid, but like let Madrid score 40, Surge score 33. Like they're giving up some points here. Again, the fact that they even let Helvetic score 20.
Kind of crazy. So, yeah.
I just think that it's one of those weeks. I think it's a bit of a trap game, to be quite honest. They're feeling good because I will say they have found ways to win ugly games, and I think that is a trait that you have to have as a team in order to win a championship. But with that ugly games comes chance, and I think that it's time for chance to take over. So going with Wrocław on this for no other reason other than I just have a feeling. So,
and to be honest, with what you have cooking here with your pick'ems, I would love to see your outcome way more than mine because it makes the playoff race super spicy. I mean, that would put Paris at 6-4, Raiders Tyrol at 6-4, Madrid at 6-4, Prague at 6-4, and Wrocław at 6-4. That would be beautiful.
It would be a great time.
And also, I'm assuming with the last game that we'd be picking as well, it would also put Ryan at 6-4. So you would just have
the whole 5 6-4 teams.
Yeah, that would be phenomenal.
That would be incredible, and I hope that happens. So yeah, I'm going with Wrocław simply just because I have a feeling. No other reason. On paper, Munich is the better team.
Hey, I love picking off.
Yeah, you got to do it sometimes. Yeah, and then our next 2 games, I don't think we need to spend a ton of time on them. Hamburg Sea Devils are visiting the Stuttgart Surge. I imagine this is going to be a big old fat dub for the Surge. You feel the same way, I presume?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and then the last game on the docket, Berlin Thunder heading out to Rhine to play the Fire, and we're both going to pick Rhine on this one too, sounds like.
So yeah, even though I disagree with you, I kind of hope your week comes to fruition more than mine. I'm down to take last in the pick'ems if we'll have 5, 6-4 teams.
Hell yeah, because let me just count real quick. Because it'd be Rhine, it'd be Wrocław, Prague. So that's 3. Madrid 4. Raiders Tyrol 5.
Paris 6.
Paris 6. So we would have, if it shakes out the way that I
league.
have it would be 6-4 teams, bro. That would be nuts.
Be awesome.
Yeah, no, I hope I'm right. Well, cool. Do you have any last thoughts on the week before we skedaddle, Tanner?
I don't think so. I think we covered everything.
Cool. Well, thanks so much for listening, everybody. This has been the Fourth Down Fiasco. You can follow us on social media. We're at @4thdown_pod on Twitter and at Fourth Down Fiasco on Instagram and TikTok. Again, be sure to check out our sponsor, BetStamp. They have all your sports bookies in one place for you. You can check them out at signupexpert.com/fiasco. If you've made it to the end of this pod and you heard that ad, Jamal Clay, I'm looking at you. I know you like to gamble. Go through our link, please. Appreciate you, pal. With that, hope everyone has a great rest of your day. And this is Tanner and Jordan saying so long.
Hugs and kisses.
Well, I like school, and I like football, and I'm gonna keep doing them both because they make me feel good.